What up, NMC students? It's your boy, Matty J. We're trying a new thing. We're going to post a little mini sermon to IGTV. Never done it before, but our student leadership team suggested it, so I thought, why not? This is the perfect time to try it. So I want to talk to you guys today about what's going on in our current climate. What you guys, but what you guys are going through specifically, because a lot of churches are talking about it and doing such a good job and being comforting and counseling and wise. But I feel like, not everyone's talking to students specifically. And so that's one of the blessings of my job, is I get to talk to you guys about where you're at, what's going on in your world. And so I think it's really good and appropriate to take time to do this. I'm going to talk to you from here. We're going to move around a little bit because I have some attention issues, and sitting still makes me feel weird. So we're going to walk around and move around a little bit, and we're going to talk about a couple different things. But I want to just start by just saying that this really stinks for you guys. And I know that. And as human beings, we want people to resonate with our suffering. We want people to see our suffering and be able to relate to it. And I can't relate to it because I've never gone through this. When I was in high school, nothing like this ever happened. But I mean, you seniors especially, losing like prom and graduation potentially, and some of this, it's impacted some of you guys that do like the IB program at Marietta High School. This is stuff that other generations have not had to deal with. And so let's just first say that this stinks. And that's okay to say. To say this is a terrible thing, this is an awful thing that's happening, that's okay to say. We don't have to get on here back, everything's good, everything's great, nothing to be sad about. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. Plus, I looked really dumb just doing that. So, like, who wants that? But, yeah, it really stinks for you athletes. Your season was cut short. I know, I'm a sports nerd, and I even know a lot of people that are trying to get signed on to a college team. Well, they just lost the end of their season, so that's going to hurt their chances of being recruited. So that stinks too. For people like me, maybe you're extroverted, like super extroverted, and maybe you don't like being in one place for too long, which is why we're going to move around here in a little bit. But, this is like, this is your nightmare because you're having to be cooped up at home away from people. This is your least ideal situation. So it stinks for you. You thrive on social interaction. You love seeing your friends every day at school. This is your worst possible scenario. You introverts, though, y'all been preparing for this your whole life. Like, y'all been getting ready your whole life. This is your ideal situation, being cooped up at home. But for you extroverts, this is a terrible time. So I just want to meet you guys where you're at and say, this stinks. And I'm sorry. Like, for real. I'm really sorry. This is awful that you guys have to go through this. And I see you. I see what you guys are going through. I hear you. I'm texting with a couple of people from our lead team about this. I'm sorry. And I want to give you permission and let you know that it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be frustrated about this whole thing. It's okay to grieve what's going on. It's okay to be sad about it. I don't know, sometimes I feel like we're not allowed to be sad, or, it's like, well, cheer up, cheer up, keep your chin up. Well, no, I don't think anyone says keep your chin up anymore. I'm 1,000. But it's okay to be sad about it. I was talking to someone the other day. They're just having a lot of academic issues with especially with like advanced placement stuff, with not being able to be in school right now. And this person was super kind. The student was super mature, and she was like, "Oh, no, I need to get over it. I know it's not a big deal." And I'm like, "No, it's okay to be upset about it. It's okay to grieve it. It's okay to be sad about it. That is normal." And for some of you, it's okay to be anxious about it. It's okay to be scared about the situation. That's normal too. So I wouldn't let anyone tell you, what's okay to feel and not feel, because your feelings aren't reality, but they're still legitimate. And just know that we see and we recognize where you're at. And know that you guys are in a new situation. No generation that is living right now. Take this in, okay? We're going to move on to something else here in a second. But no generation that is living right now, that is on the earth, has seen anything like this. That's how rare and unique this is. Think about that for a second. So like I grew up with a grandma who always made things sound terrible, like way worse than they were. She's like, back in my day, when you were sick, they would throw rocks at you. And I'm like, what? Grandma, they didn't do that. Like if you didn't know the answer to something at school, your teacher would shoot you. I'm like, Grandma, no, they didn't ever do that. Like, you're making that up. Like, I had to walk to school in the summer. Like, Grandma, you didn't go to school in the summer. Stop. You know, like, sometimes older generations tend to embellish stories like that. Well, no one can do that. There's not an 80, 90, 100-year-old person walking this earth that can say they've gone through this situation. This is brand new. And you guys are having to walk through it. But I think there's some comfort in this and some hope in this. In this book of the Bible called Ecclesiastes, its Hebrew name is Kohelet, which I think sounds cooler. It says that there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new. It says that the time rises and falls like a tide. It comes and it goes. And what's done has already been done and will be done again. And so there have been situations throughout time. No one currently living has seen this. But throughout time, throughout human history, there have been things like this. And actually things way worse than this. And so I think there's a little comfort in both of those things. You're going through something that's really unique and just specific to you guys. But then also, this isn't so new and so scary that we should be completely terrified. Like, oh my gosh, this has never happened. No, actually way worse stuff has happened. There's been plagues that have wiped out civilizations and populations. And so this, while it's new, and there's comfort in that. And like, okay, yeah, I can be scared and feel weird about this because it's new, but it's also not. And as a church specifically, because that's what NMC Students is, it's part of the church. It's a generation of this church, North Metro Church, and part of the bigger church. The church has gone through something like this before. In fact, several times. There's actually in the early church, like in the 1st century, there was this plague called the Antonine Plague, and it was bad, and it was wiping out a lot of the Roman Empire, and it came from this, like, it got brought into the empire, and the church helped take care of people in this situation, sometimes to their own detriment, and they gave people hope in this situation. A similar thing happened in this, there's not a lot of historical data on this, but there was this other plague that happened like a century later, same thing. The church stepped up once again. There's been time after time where there's been plague after plague after plague, and the church has always been kind of a beacon for hope and it's kind of a refuge for people during these times. And so while this is new, it's also not new, and there's comfort in both of those. And the church has stood and persisted through all of it. And that should be encouraging to you guys. The church still stands. In fact, even the way we're meeting now with like, I mean, we're live streaming services. I'm coming to you on IGTV, which I've never done. The way we're meeting now, we have small groups, adult small groups here that are just meeting like through FaceTime and stuff like that. The church has gone through worse. I mean, in the early church, they were persecuted and they used to have to meet in each other's homes, but like it was like low key and like secretive because they didn't want to get arrested and killed. This one was trippy. In the early church, they also would have church services in these underground tombs called catacombs. Like legit, like where they would go bury dead people. Christians would be like, where's no one want to hang out? Where's no one looking? Oh yeah, in the tombs underground. And they would meet and have, how would you like to have your small group in one of those? You know what I'm saying? Like guys, for small group today, you're going to go to a local cemetery and just post up. All right. Like that's weird and gross. Or like your local morgue. Like that's where you're going to meet. No, that would be weird. But that's what Christians did because they had to. Because they were persecuted. And so we're not going through persecution, thank the Lord, but we're in this weird situation, this weird stage as a church, and we're having to meet in different ways. And this is a new challenge in your generation and in any generation living right now. But again, it's not new in terms of history. And so we can take some comfort in that. I always say that the church is really sturdy. Like she's real sturdy. Like she's tough. And the church has persisted through all this stuff. The church has endured persecution. I mean, people have met, like I said, in homes, in catacombs, and even in coliseums where Christians used to be persecuted in front of people. And the church that Jesus built, the church that Jesus started, his church has persisted throughout. And so I want y'all to take some comfort in that and be encouraged in that. But here's the deal. As a church, here's what here's what we're out here trying to do. We first and foremost, I believe as a church and as a student ministry, we exist to glorify our Lord Jesus and to be a blessing to all people, to be a blessing specifically to this community that we're in. And so in this time, while, you know, we've lamented what you guys have gone through and talked about how it's new and not new and there's comfort in both, it's important for us to also talk about what we do from here. And first and foremost, for the good of our community, we want to be wise and we want to be measured in what we do, and we want to be responsible. We want to have a responsible response. And so that's why we're practicing social distance. That's why I'm coming to you on Instagram TV. And so I would encourage you guys, because some young people are just being like, nah, it's fine, whatever. Like, I mean, that's like a recommendation. But no, like it's important that we do that, and we want to honor that. And so we would encourage you in this time to practice that social distance. Again, because part of the reason we exist is for the good of our community. And so we want to stand with our teachers and our schools and our government officials, and we want to be a support to them, which is why we want to be faithful. We want to honor what's going on. But we also, once more, we want to be an encouragement to others. We still want to be that light and that hope that the church has always been throughout plagues, throughout persecutions. We want to be that encouragement. And so make sure you're staying in contact with your friends, staying in contact, especially with maybe friends that don't believe or are like, they're kind of searching right now for some hope or some light. Like that's what the church is supposed to do. It's kind of like our time to shine. Like, all right, let's get it. Some of the greats, I'm sorry, I unapologetically relate a lot of stuff back to sports, but it's because I love sports. But like the best athletes, the most clutch athletes show up in the most clutch moments. MJ, closing out games all the time. Same with Kobe, closing out games all the time. Tom Brady, the GOAT, even though I don't like Tom Brady. But like, he's clutch. He closes it down like when it's most needed. I feel like the church, we got to be clutch in this time. That's what Jesus has called us to do. But for those of you, kind of last word on this intro, we're going to talk about kind of my main point real fast. I want to give this encouragement to you guys. I want to look you in the eye and tell you, because a lot of people will not do this, I want to tell you that it's going to be okay. Let that sink in. Let it breathe. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this together with the Lord's kindness and faithfulness. We're going to find a new normal, and we're going to become more dependent on the Lord maybe in this time. And while it's okay to feel afraid, we can also affirm that we have nothing to fear, that Jesus is still Lord, and that has not changed. And my thoughts kind of went this week to this prophet named Jeremiah. And Jeremiah was getting ready to tell the people of Israel, a funny story, y'all got to go into exile. Like, you're going to get punished and conquered by this people group and get taken away. So that's happened. And he tells them when they're going into exile, rather than just like complain and moan about it or just be super depressed, he says, like, find a new normal. He's like, post up there, flourish, support the community that you're in as best you can. And then he even goes on to talk about, like, don't listen to people that like give false testimonies and try to freak you out or try to manipulate or control you. But instead depend on the Lord. And our story is very similar to Israel's. My words to you should be kind of like this prophet Jeremiah's words. It's like, hey, in this time, while we're quarantined, while we're trying to be careful, while we're guarding our health, let it become a new normal. Post up at home. Get comfortable. I mean, flourish there. Try some new things. Read some books. Get some rest. I mean, stay connected in all the ways that in His providence the Lord has provided through technology. I mean, find a new normal there, and don't let other people, naysayers, people trying to manipulate you with fear or control. Like, don't let that. Just let that go, and just depend on the Lord instead. It's really funny. Everyone quotes the verse that what is it? I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and to give you a future and hope. That's from Jeremiah, and it's actually that verse comes after Jeremiah says, "Y'all going to go into exile for a while, and it's not great, but." Get comfortable, get cozy, make a new normal, and the Lord will prosper you there. And so we're getting a real taste of that now. Like, we're in a less than ideal situation, in an uncertain situation, and we don't really know the length and duration of the situation, but find a new normal. And you know what? It's going to be okay. We're going to find a new normal. We can do this. And so that is my encouragement to you guys. It's going to be okay. And in this time, I want to ask you guys this provocative question. With everything that's going on and where we find ourselves, I want to ask you the question, what if? What if during this time, though it kind of stinks, what if the Lord is using this time to bring some good from some bad? What if in this time, after all we've gone through, what if some good comes from this really bad situation? What if some of this works out to deliver us from some things that maybe we were struggling with before, or some problems that we had? What if there's some new life on the other side of this? Now, notice, we're going to move. Notice, I didn't say, the question is what, not why. I'm not trying to ask the question, why? I'm not worried about why this happened. It's not for me to fathom or try to contemplate why this happened. So I'm not looking for why God did this. I'm saying, no, what if? And what the question is what? What is God going to bring about from this? I'm not looking for the reason for this thing happening. I'm actually wondering about the response that we're going to have. And I'm not trying to explain the cause of this whole situation. What caused it? Did the Lord cause it? Is God using this to bring about that? I don't know. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the Almighty. And if anyone feels comfortable doing that, that's their thing. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the Lord unless he's giving me a clear word on something. So I'm not going to say like, well, God caused us to do that. No. What I'm asking is, I'm not trying to get at the cause. I'm just trying to get at the effect. What's going to come from this? What good is the Lord going to bring about from this? And from that question, I want to tell you guys about two different people from the Bible, and I think their stories will really resonate. I'm going to hit you guys with this real quick. So there's this guy in the Old Testament. His name's Joseph. A lot of you probably heard of him as like a Technicolor dream coat that he had. Well, Joseph goes through like this horrible, horrendous situation. His brothers play him. He gets thrown into like a giant pit. He gets sold into slavery at one point. He gets thrown up in prison unjustly. And Joseph has all these people conspire against him his entire story. He has all this stuff working against him. His situation seems impossible. But then Joseph, like the Lord sees Joseph. He said, I see you, Joseph. And the Lord perpetually works and intervenes in Joseph's life to bring about a greater good. And it's for Joseph's good, but also part of the bigger good, God's big plan, God's big story that he's writing. And so there's this narrative arc, and you can read about this in Genesis, where again and again in the story of Joseph, it says, what they intended for evil, the Lord used for good. What was intended for evil, the Lord worked for good. And this is actually, this is the theme of the Bible. This is the theme of Scripture. And I didn't know this growing up. I wasn't taught this, but it's kind of this overarching theme that God takes bad things and he makes good from them. We're not really supposed to ask why the Lord does things. That's beyond our pay grade. There's a whole story about that from Job we might get into in this series. But we don't question, why is God doing this? What is he up to? No. What we trust is that God will take bad things and make good from them. I don't know why this is a dumb analogy, but I always think of like someone making balloon animals, you know? It's like someone hands them just like this little piece of plastic and they're able to and make like, it's a bouquet of flowers, or like, and the easy one's like, it's a dog. Like the Lord just takes bad and just goes, yeah, good. My wife is brilliant at baking, and she can just take random stuff that she sees in the cupboard and go, okay, I got this. This is going to expire in a couple of days. This is not, we're not going to really use that for anything. And she can just whip it up and make something amazing with it. That's the character and the nature of the Lord. That is what the Lord does. He takes bad things, he takes chaos, and he makes good from them. And so we see that in the story of Joseph, and it's the overarching narrative, or the overarching theme of the narrative of Joseph in the Old Testament, but also the overarching theme of the Bible is God is always working out his redemptive plans and purposes, his good plans and purposes. We see that even with Jesus, like God was taking this bad, sinful situation and he's redeeming it. He's taking people far from him and bringing them back. This is what the Lord does. But I want to say about this other dude, You've heard of him. The Apostle Paul. And the Apostle Paul, we talked about this last spring, around this time actually. In this letter to this church at a place called Philippi, Paul writes about his current situation. And his current situation is that he's writing from prison. And so Paul is at a table, and it's actually like a table, kind of like the one we got here. And he's at this table, and he's chained to this desk. And there's these guards watching him all the time. And this situation is less than ideal. And Paul, spoilers, is at the end of his life. And Paul's writing to this church, and he's talking about all this incredible opportunity the Lord has given him. And in fact, these guards that are guarding Paul, they're some of like the most influential people in the Roman Empire, like the empire of the day. And they were like highly influential. They knew politicians, they knew rulers. And so Paul's actually getting to have positive influence with these people that were guarding him while he was in prison that he otherwise would never have had. And he has this time to write all these letters to all these churches, to essentially write most of the New Testament, because he's in chains in this prison. He's literally under house arrest, which, that preaches today. That's exactly where we're at, essentially. We're all under house arrest. And Paul writes this weird thing. He says, this whole situation, me being chained to this table, having all this time under house arrest, getting to influence all these guards, this has turned out for my deliverance. It's turned out for my deliverance? What? And so Paul viewed his chains as an opportunity and an occasion to bring about change, to have positive influence. And I think we have some of that, to bring some good from this bad situation. And I think we have the ability to do that. You guys have the ability to do that. While you're under house arrest, while you're in this unfortunate situation you didn't really ask for, that you're kind of a victim of, maybe you have an opportunity for some influence as you're able to stay connected with your friends through different media platforms. Maybe this is a situation for you to bring about some positive change, maybe in your life. Maybe you have some more time to read and study the word, more time to watch stuff like this, where otherwise you're distracted or running 1,000 different directions, 1,000 miles an hour. So maybe like Paul, maybe this is a situation that the Lord can use and redeem and make good from bad. So I encourage you with that. And maybe you get to have this influence that you otherwise wouldn't have had, because people are looking for answers right now. They're looking for hope. They're looking for encouragement. Again, this could be the church's time to shine. And maybe, just maybe, like in Paul's story, maybe this is delivering you from something. Maybe you were getting a little worn out with your pace of life. Maybe you had a lot of stuff that you were running around too busy to even like stop and contemplate and countenance and think about. And maybe the Lord's giving you some time right now to think about that. And I'm not trying to be silver lining guy, like, oh, it's okay. Like, oh, this is a great situation. Actually, let me show you why. No, we already said this is a rough situation, but good can come from this bad. The Lord brings good about from bad. That's just what the Lord does in his kindness. And so like Paul, maybe this will turn out for our deliverance. Maybe the Lord will make good from bad. This will have an opportunity and occasion for change and for influence and for growth, and this will work out for our deliverance. And so I want to end today by saying, kind of teasing out what we're going to talk about the next couple of times that we're in this little mini-series on IGTV. Maybe as we look to see how God makes good from bad situations, maybe he's going to bring about a greater good from this situation, in that right now, we're going to talk about this. We are forced to trust the Lord with each and every single day. We cannot plan next week. I had to cancel 2 trips overseas. I'm going to have to cancel a retreat that I had in the spring. I don't know. I don't know. People ask me stuff like, Pastor Matt, are we doing this? Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea, because we're day to day. We've been in the Lord's Prayer, and we've been praying, hey, give us this day our daily bread. Yeah, daily bread, man. This is a situation where we're kind of forced into that. Maybe this will work out for our deliverance. Maybe this is an opportunity to change and to grow and to be influenced and influence others with that. So what if, our guiding question, what if this is actually going to help us rely more upon the Lord? What if What if on the other side of this is some new life? What if on the other side of this, the church, where normally we're wrestling people's busy schedules and kind of an apathy of like, I just like live stream something from home. Maybe there's this renewed zeal and desire to actually meet together and sing together and have small group together and be in fellowship and interaction and community with one another. Maybe there'll be a newfound appetite for that, where there was an apathy. Maybe there'll be an appetite and people will be like, oh my gosh, I've missed this so much. I didn't even know what I had. I did not even know what I had until it was gone. And so maybe, what if on the other side of this, the church thrives and grows and expands because people realize how much they missed it and how much they needed it? What if? And then even looking at Paul's story with being in chains and being in prison and being in this one spot, similar spot to where we're at. What if the Lord uses this situation to teach us about rest, to teach us about slowing down as a society? Maybe we've gone to this place. I've kind of felt this way as I've sat back and looked and assessed at my pace of living and my lifestyle. I've thought, like, it's kind of cray. Like, maybe we need to slow it down a little bit. And so what if this is an opportunity and an occasion for us to learn that? To just slow it down a little bit. And we're going to talk about Sabbath next time we talk. And what if this is a situation in which the Lord is trying to teach us who's really in charge and what's really important? And I know a lot of people, they lean and they depend on things like money and power and like their routines and their positions, and all that's really shaky right now. And there's a story in the Bible where, I'll end with this as I'm walking out the door. There's a story in the Bible where it's the plagues of Egypt, and the Lord actually confronts these people called the Egyptians. They had all these false gods that they worshipped, and each false god was like in charge of something, and they thought the false gods made them profitable and made them successful and affluent. And the Lord basically goes after all of those false gods by sending like famine and pestilence and all this stuff. And so their idols fall before them. And so I don't think the Lord's like causing all this. Again, I'm not trying to ask the question of cause. But what if during this time, we're kind of bowing down some of our idols? Maybe we kind of worshiped our schedule, our routine. Maybe we worshiped the things we thought, we went and did that we thought gave us our purpose and our meaning and value. What if the Lord is challenging all that? What if he's bringing down some idols? And so I want you to take this time to ask that question. What if? What if the Lord is using this time to do something new? What if he's trying to bring about some good from bad? What if the Lord is trying to bring some new life on the other side of this? And so, know NMC students, that we're praying for you guys, that we love you guys, and that we're here for you, even if we can't physically be present with you. And so in this time, use this time. See this time for the blessing and benefit that it can be. See the Lord making some good from some bad, and see how this might turn out for your deliverance. So may the Lord bless you and keep you during this time. And keep asking yourself the question, what if? See you guys later.